So for this senior capstone project, I am partaking in being a teaching assistant for Miss Johnson in her accounting class. So I decided to do some research on what it is like to be a teaching assistant in college, and here's what I found. The position of a teaching assistant varies between school to school. To start with, some schools allow only graduate students to be teaching assistants, but others include upperclassmen, and others only want graduates and seniors only. So before deciding to be a teaching assistant in college, make sure your credentials match up with what the college offers. Generally, larger schools will have graduate and upperclassmen teaching assistants. On top of this, there is a difference between graduate-level teaching assistants and upperclassmen teaching assistants. Graduate-level teaching assistants will practically run the class and be the day-to-day teacher. On occasion, they will teach the class more than the professor. They will have to have office hours of their own and have to answer any questions a student may ask. On the other hand, upperclassmen teaching assistants will do more basic tasks, such as proctoring exams and grading papers. The more mundane stuff a professor does not want to do. Then there is always the question of pay. Graduate-level teaching assistants will almost always be paid by wage or reduction to tuition costs, but upperclassmen teaching assistants will not always be paid. Yes, they can be paid the same as graduate teaching assistants, but sometimes they will receive class credit for the work they did. So everything about a teaching assistant job in college depends on what school you go to and how far into schooling you are. On top of wondering what it is like being a teaching assistant, I wanted to do research on learning styles and teaching styles to better my experience as a teaching assistant. To start with, there are 7 different categories of learning styles, and they are visual, verbal, oral, physical, logical, social, and solitary. This being said, no one fits into one category perfectly. For example, I think very logically and with reasoning, so I would fit into that category, but at times I like to learn by doing, which is more physical than logical. So a visual learner can also be called a spatial learner. These people use images, charts, and maps to convey information and communicate with others. They like to use whiteboards and draw everything out rather than write it out. A verbal learner enjoys the use of words, either written or spoken, when learning. These people are very linguistic and use rhymes, gimmicks, and mnemonics to help retain information. An oral learner likes to use music and sounds to aid learning. They enjoy listening to music and even making music. Oral learners will find the music in anything, and this can help them learn and remember things. Physical learners use their body, hands, and touch to help learning. Kinesthetic learners learn by doing. They like to make models and sculptures to help remember information. They would rather jump in and mess with something rather than read about how it works. A logical learner prefers to use their brain to find reasoning, whether it be logical or mathematical. Logical learners use patterns and connections to assist learning. They classify and group topics together to understand things better. Typically, logical learners will complete tasks in a systematic way with procedures that can be easily followed later. The last 2 categories are opposites of each other. They are social and solitary learning. They are mostly self-explanatory. Social learners like to work in groups and with other people in general. Solitary learners prefer to do things on their own. It is very important for teachers to take into account all 7 learning styles so that all students may strive in the classroom.